Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
It is Tuesday, and all of our guests today, including Ian Furness, standing by down in Seattle, brought to you by The Waddling Dog. Ian Furness joins us now from KGR Sports Radio and the Kraken Hockey Network. Let me go through the list again regarding Seahawks moves. They've released Tyler Lockett, traded Geno Smith, DK Metcalf, and they've signed, and I'm excluding a few things here, but they've signed quarterback Sam Darnold, 3 years, $55 million guaranteed. Ian Furness joins us now. Ian, I'm sure you've been busy. How are you?
Good, gentlemen. How are you guys?
Very, very well. Are you a believer in Sam Darnold?
Well, that's a big open-ended question, Donnie. I like the move. If you just say, hey, you're swapping Geno Smith for Sam Darnold, you get 7 years younger, you get about $8 or $9 million average per year salary cheaper. You get a similar quarterback in terms of production, more athletic. There's question marks with both guys, and it's the price you pay. The Geno Smith trade, I'll be honest with you, surprised me. It surprised a lot of people on Friday. Caught us all off guard. But plan B was obviously Sam Darnold, and these things don't happen. You guys know it. You've been doing this forever. You just finished the wildness that we all did at the trade deadline for the NHL. I mean, things don't happen in a vacuum. They had the combine a couple weeks ago. I'm sure that conversations were had, even though it's not legal, with John Schneider and Darnold's representatives. So I think that allowed them to make the move, and they net a third-round pick out of it as well. So, yeah, I think overall I like it. They have a lot more work to get done, and they've been pretty quiet as far as what they've got to do there. But, so far so good.
So who's the real Sam Darnold? Terrific regular season, at least most of it in Minnesota last year. His 1 year with the Vikings, then those ugly losses to the Lions and the Rams. Who's the real Sam Darnold?
Yeah, we'll find it out, Donnie. I think, here's a guy that there's some similarities with him and Geno. You go to New York as a high draft pick and you fail. The Jets is where, good players go to die, and that happened with him too. He had some success in Carolina in a bit role as a starter, had a better record than Baker Mayfield. I think if you look at Sam Darnold, I think you could look at Baker Mayfield and say that's probably a pretty good comp. You go to a bad situation as a high draft pick. Oftentimes quarterbacks that are high draft picks are going into really bad situations. Shocking, I know. That's why it's a high draft pick. And so you go there, you don't do well. Baker went to a couple, 3 teams before his career got resurrected, and now he's thriving in Tampa. I think Darnold can do the same. The people that have watched him play on a daily basis, that watched him practice on a daily basis, rave about everything, that is Sam Darnold. I like his athleticism, strong arm, very accurate. And he comes into a system that he's familiar with Clint Kubiak. And, I think the one big upgrade for Seattle this year is the offensive coaching staff. They hired Ryan Grubb and Scott Huff as the offensive line coach. Huff was the offensive line coach, and Ryan Grubb, the OC last year. Guy strictly out of college, never been in the NFL. Different game. Just a different game. And they were over their skis, and they've gone out and hired some experienced guys. They've got a different concept in terms of the run game, and I think it's a good fit. Now the question is, who does he throw to besides Jackson Smith and Jigba? Who blocks for him besides the 2 tackles in Cross and Lucas? So, those are questions that still have to be answered as free agency comes along. But they've got, they netted a ton of draft picks, and they're gonna have a really, really nice start to the draft with the first couple days.
In just shockwaves, really. Geno Smith and DJ Metcalf out so quickly. Like, what happened there with both those guys?
Well, let's start on last Wednesday. I was just talking to Ryan off the air. We were, you guys can relate to this. You have a show planned. You're heading down. Yeah. I was heading down actually to the Tacoma Dome to do, the high school basketball tournaments there every year, and I make a point of getting down there. I think it's important for our station as a community-based, station to showcase the young folks, the boys and girls playing in that. I'm like, all right, well, let's put a spotlight on the youngsters or this high school tournament. Great NBA players have played there, and I'm driving down and I hear our midday guy start losing his mind saying, DK Metcalf wants a trade. I'm like, what? Like, where did that come from? And obviously they've been. I talked to some people in the organization. It had been brewing for a while, and they weren't happy. I'll tell you that. In almost Canucks-like fashion. The way it all went down was very dramatic, ruffled a lot of feathers. This would have been perfect for you guys up in your market because there was a lot more to it, and that was this. That was the day they released Tyler Lockett.
Yes.
And Tyler was going to be released. He knew he was going to be released. They weren't going to pay him what he was going to get, and he knew that. And it's part of the business. They had an amicable, split. They had planned it out with Tyler. They released 4 other guys the day before, but they didn't release Tyler. That was supposed to be Tyler Lockett's day. He's probably going to be in the Ring of Honor someday. He did a social media post. The Seahawks did a bunch of stuff, and then 20 minutes later, it gets leaked. And I don't say leaked. We all know how it is. There's no such thing as a leak, whether it's in the political world or sports world. Things are done for a reason, and it comes out. The group chat that all those insiders are on, Schefter, Rappaport, Pelissero, they're all in the same group chat. It's the agents text them all at the same time, and it comes out DK wants a trade. It shocked all of us. Organization was aware of it. They said all along that they weren't going to move him unless it came up where it made sense for them. They were because he didn't have any leverage at all. He's under contract for 1 more year. They could franchise him next year and kind of force his hand at that point. So they waited. They got the deal they wanted. They made a move, and then obviously the stuff on Friday. I'm just driving home, minding my own business. It's 3:30 on a Friday, man. I'm done. And I'm not like you guys. I'm not going sports 24/7. I got other things to worry about. And all of a sudden, it's like my phone's blowing up. I'm like, what's going on? I flip on our station. I hear Softy screaming at the top of his lungs. Says, oh, yeah, Geno Smith's been traded to the Raiders. And it's honestly, guys, it's been a wild few days here for us. And then DK ends up finally getting traded on Sunday. So it's been crazy here. And, oh, by the way, we had the NHL trade deadline last Friday as well. So, good times, fun times down here. No, never a dull moment in Seattle, fellas, and never, ever a dull moment in the world of sports.
Well, before you got Darnold, though, there was the report that, hey, the Seahawks were going to talk with Aaron Rodgers. Was there anything to that?
No.
Okay.
And I think as quick as Darnold was signed when and he's not signed yet. For folks up there that don't know, it's March 10th, the Monday, the March 10th, yesterday. That's the start of they call it. It's the biggest oxymoron out there. Legal tampering. Tell me how that makes sense.
Yeah.
But unlike the NHL and the NBA, that July 1st, boom, you start free agency. You can start negotiating on that Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific. Well, by 9:01 Pacific, you saw all these agreements had been made. All this news is leaking. So my guess is that they had already, like I said, had something in place with Sam Darnold. He was leaving Minnesota, by the way, for folks who don't know, because they drafted J.J. McCarthy in the first round last year in the top 10. And that's you're not having that guy. He tore his Achilles last year, but he's back. He's healthy. They're not going to have him sit for, or maybe his knee. I'm sorry, but he's not going to sit for 2 years. That's why Darnold was expendable. So, and he was a top free agent quarterback on the market, and it wasn't even close number 2. So that was a done deal as of probably who knows when, probably last week.
Okay, Mr. Kraken Hockey Network, are you okay? You alluded to it here with what the Kraken was up to before the deadline, but Yanni Gourde, Oliver Bjorkstrand Gourde going back to Tampa Bay for some futures, a couple of draft picks.
Yeah, guys, I love what they did for a couple of reasons. One is you have to understand who you are in the NHL. Like you have to make that determination that you're out of the playoff race. And how many teams right now in the Eastern Conference are still tricking themselves into thinking they're still in it, right? And so Seattle came to the realization they were out, and there's not even a debate anymore. They're out of the playoff race. So what do? Well, you got expiring contracts in Tanev and Gourde. So you recoup something there. Bjorkstrand's salary comes off the books, and Yanni Newman's a top prospect. He's going to play tomorrow against Montreal. He's practicing right now as we speak. He's a leading rookie goal scorer in the American Hockey League. Big Finnish kid, 6'4", 210, can score on the wing. Exactly what they need. So they're going to get a look at him tomorrow. And that's they have 10 picks in the first 2 rounds over the next 2 years. Yeah. They also have a ton of salary cap space to work with. And Ron Francis, he was with us on Friday on my show and on the Kraken Hockey Network as well, and he said the same thing over and over again. He goes, "We're not rebuilding. We're not cutting costs." It's funny in our market because of the baseball team. They see Yanni Gourde, Bjorkstrand, and Tanev leave, and some of the newer fans are like, "Oh my goodness, they're cutting costs. They're being cheap like the Mariners. They're just getting rid of their veteran players." Now, this isn't getting rid of Geno Suarez or Robbie Ray because he's getting paid too much. This is you guys understand it up there, I know, but not everyone does down here. But 10 picks in the first 3 rounds, the next 2 years, and Ron says we're not using all those picks. That's an obvious. In fact, we're not even going to come close to using all those picks. They are going to be incredibly aggressive. Draft weekend, free agency. They've got to find a winger that can score. They've got 3 centers. They feel really good about Shane Wright. If you just look at the numbers over the last 2-3 months, one of the best. Well, he's probably arguably, along with Celebrini and a couple other guys, he's one of the top under 21-year-olds in the league. Matty's been better since Capo Caco got there. He's an RFA. They got to get that done, which they will. And Chandler Stevenson's leading the team in assists, and he's getting paid a ton of money. So 1, 2, 3 down the middle, Yanni wasn't going to come back. He's not going to be a fourth-line center in Seattle. And so they got top 4 defensemen. I mean, you look at their I'd say 5 defensemen are solid, like really good. And if they can just give Joey some rest every now and then, they've got a true number 1 goalie. They've got pieces in place. They're not taking this thing down to the studs. When people say that, I've seen some people, even some national media guys, write about that. You're an absolute moron if you think that. Like, look at a team's roster and then decide tear it down to the studs. What are you talking about? They've got 3 centers. And they've got a number 1 goalie, and they got 5 really good defensemen. I'd put Mahuro as number 6. He's a free agent. You get him on pennies on the dollar. You're set in the back end. You just have to find a way to score. And I think with all of those assets, they're not that far away. Like, really not that far away. The record is what it is. They're awful in back-to-backs. They're 0-10 this year. Grubauer was good in Philadelphia Saturday, but he's killed them this year. I mean, he's 10 games below 500. And when I say that, it's not like a baseball pitching record where Felix would be like, 10-12 and win a Cy Young. No, he's legit 10 games under 500. He's got 866 save percentage. He's good in Philadelphia, so maybe he can help him. But if you really kind of look at kind of peel back the onion a little bit, this team isn't that far away from being a playoff team. They just have to get really busy and really aggressive that last weekend in June and obviously July 1st. And I think Ron Francis will. I think he's feeling some heat, and I think he's going to get. It's going to be an exciting time for Kraken fans this offseason.
Well, it sounds like you're planning the parade. You should. Oh. The Canucks would like to have you working in the media up here, Mr. Positive.
Positivity pills.
Well, I mean, we could maybe we'll pick up EP40 and he'll start having success like JT did when he left your market up there, because apparently the poison well is not really anything other than Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada.
Yeah, the media in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. Yes,
bad media.
You know what? I forgot the big. I'm intimidated every time I come on with you guys. Scare the daylights out of me. Honestly, scare the daylights out of me.
You should be scared.
I see a text from Ryan. I shudder. Like, gosh, what's going on? I know. Hey, good luck against Le Habitant tonight. Is that a home game for Montreal? How's that going to be?
Yeah, always. Yeah.
We have lots of fun. We have them here tomorrow. I guess the payback for our knucklehead president is the fact they had to push the start time back to 7:30, so to accommodate Canadian television. We might notify the White House and see if we can get it changed back to 7.
At least you're doing something for us.
Yeah, no kidding.
Hey, you guys know, ain't me, buddy.
I know. I know your roots. Yeah.
As long as they're not putting a tariff on my Shreddies, Coffee Crisp, or Tim Hortons.
Timmy's.
My buddy. Yeah, I got to get my buddy Brett Festerling to bring me some of all that stuff down this weekend before they start closing down the border. So, yeah.
Okay. All the best, Ian. Thanks for this.
See you, boys.
You bet.